Hello, in this video I'm going to go over a support DPS role and build. Support DPS is a DPS role in a trials group that is not necessarily a full damage DPS. What it's there to do is they bring buffs to the other DPS that are full damage as well as the other group members depending on what they're running. But let's get into the setup here. As you can see at the bottom right of my screen there, I've got the gear listed. I'm wearing War Machine. This enables your group to get rid of a Rojo healer and wear something else on a healer. Check out my channel for that. I've got a build for a Dr. Zorin build. I feel that is a great replacement for the Rojo healer. It's a much easier build to run. All you have to do is basically heal. You don't have to proc a heavy attack or anything. You just run the build. But anyway, back to this one. War Machine gives Major Slayer to 5 other people for 50 seconds if you proc your ultimate with 50 ultimate. Zens, for every damage over time ability that you have on the enemy, they take an extra 1% damage from the rest of your group. I will probably make a video on this set because it is sort of it's kind of detailed in how you need to run Zens. It's very, you have to know what you're doing to run this properly. Um, a lot of people might mistake how you run Zens, and it's very particular. So it does matter what you're running on your bars, and I'll go into that a little bit with this build, but I'll probably make a way more detailed video just focusing on Zens itself. Um, Crushing Wall on the back bar for the Inferno staff. And I am running Spalder of Ruin also to further benefit the group. So this build is actually going to be giving a lot of buffs in group. I've got Major Slayer for 50 seconds, 5% increased damage taken from Zens, and then I've got 260 unique weapon and spell damage for up to 6 people that stand in the ring of Spalder of Ruin. They'll get the Aura of Pride buff. So let's get into how to run this and what to do. The skill lines that I am running, as you can see, are Ardent Flame, Animal Companions, and the Gravelord's skill line from Necromancer. Now, I understand people might run their Zen build differently. This is my build. I've concocted this for kind of a Swiss Army knife of being able to provide a ton of buffs to the group. I'm a strong believer that if you are going to bring a support DPS to the trials group, you should be bringing a lot of buffs to the group and not just a few, because truth be told, you are just not going to do as much damage as the rest of them. So if you're going to go ahead and put those shoes on, make sure they're tied right and you got them set on the right feet and everything. So let's just get into how I've got this set up. I'm currently working on getting this set up, but even as it is a Zen dot. Now, what do I mean by when I say that? Well, if you take a look at the Zen's Redes set, now I recommend running this on the jewelry and the front bar weapons, because you only have to proc this once every 20 seconds on an enemy. You can have several touches of Zen up, but you do have to light attack every one of them. Now, as you can see, every one of these guys has a touch of Zen on them, but you do have to light attack each one of them once every 20 seconds in order for this to work. So if you look at this skill, or excuse me, the set, it's every damage over time ability that you have on the enemy. That's very important to pay attention to. So for example, this right here does not count as a Zen dot, because this is an area of effect. It's not stuck on the enemy. Now, for example, if you happen to lay this down and hit an enemy, and we'll see if this procs burning or not. Not seeing burning pop up. There's hemorrhage. Or that was a bleed, I'm sorry. Now, as you can see, when you've got a dot going, they take additional damage. But the dot itself has to be on the enemy. So, like if you run up here and you tag that guy with a Zen, and then you put Zen dots on them, such as this, then they're going to take an additional amount of damage, as you can see there. But the Zen dot can be refreshed. There's no cooldown on it, so you can just sit here and every time you hit a skill you want a light attack, make sure you keep that up. As long as you have those dots up, your team is going to get the full 5% buff from the Zen's Redress set. Now the War Machine set, you only want to proc that with an ultimate. Now if you really want to make this build even juicier than just all of that, there's a couple of reasons why I've picked the skill lines I have. This right here has two really good Zen dots on it in the Venomous Claw and the Engulfing Flames. This is going to buff your group's flame damage just passively there. And then this has a really, really strong poison dot. This has increased burning and poison damage. Very, very strong skill line. Then the Warden's skill line, there are two Zen dots here as well. If you happen to proc poison status effect, that is also a Zen dot because it's stuck on the enemy. So we have two Zen dots here, and then we have two Zen dots here. The cutting dive is a Zen dot because it's a bleed over time, and then it also procs off balance, which is nice if you're 7 meters away. And then this is also minor vulnerability and a Zen dot. So third skill line, I'm buffing damage over time for myself with two components. The Gravelord's Sacrifice increases it by 15% because I'm actually on a damage over time build. This is going to be beneficial. And then also the Rapid Rot skill line gives me another 10%, so that's 25% increase to my damage over time abilities. I'm trying to ramp up the damage as much as I can because I'm not on a traditional full damage build here, but I am buffing the group. But the secret weapon here, the Glacial Colossus, I can put this on my back bar and also give the group major vulnerability for 20 seconds. So when I hit my ultimate on the back bar like that, I'm giving the group 50 seconds of Major Slayer. Also, I am giving major vulnerability for 20 seconds. Now, in order to keep up the major vulnerability, all you have to do is have, depending on what your ulti-gen is in your group, you may only have to have 2, maybe possibly 3 DPS run the Colossus skill, because this gives 20 seconds. You can get rid of sets like Turning Tide, Archdruid, and run something else in your group instead that's beneficial. So uh, let me go into a couple of other things here. I'll probably need to cover 64 points into stamina. Mundus Stone is the thief, as always. I have a little bit of a different setup here because I wanted to try and get my penetration into a reasonable range. If you just build normally with just daggers and everything, your pen is a little bit low on here. That's really kind of suffer a little bit. So what I did with this is I made a sharpened mace for one, which increases your penetration quite a bit. You get increase penetration by 1638 just for the sharpened trait. But then also if you go into the dual wield and then you go all the way down to the twin blades, you can see that each mace gives you another 1487. So that adds quite a bit of penetration to the build, which is much needed. There's another thing you can do to increase your penetration. Um, Go into your blue tree here and keep an eye on Force of Nature. That could also help you get your penetration up as well. Um, Giggity, I know. Then you want to slot damage over time for sure, as well as biting aura and deadly aim. And then fighting finesse should be a staple so that you're hitting the critical damage cap in your group. You're probably not going to hit it on this as easily because you're not running Herald of the Tome and Assassin, but with two animal companion skills here, that helps a little bit. Get your damage up a little bit more. Couple options you could change around depending on how things are going. You may change your Mundus to the Lover for more penetration, or perhaps maybe you want to run the Shadow for more uh, critical damage. I would say this is probably better to run in most cases. You want to make sure that your critical chance is higher. Um, if I proc the potion there, then you'll see it goes up to 40 almost. That's a pretty good range. Um, but I would say probably the blue tree you're going to want to run at minimum fighting finesse, thermatug, and uh, deadly aim for sure. Those are going to buff your damage over times on the enemies themselves. I have all of my weapons kind of normal. This is an absorbed stamina trait. I should probably change that to a flame glyph. I'm mistakenly left that as a stamina glyph. This is a poison glyph on a sharpened mace, as I've shown, infused weapon damage glyph, and then I have all Divine's stamina glyphs for armor, and then we have bloodthirsty weapon damage, or physical harm, I should say, glyphs there. Um, that's pretty much it for the video. The Zen dots that you want to make sure that you have in your build is you want to have at least 5. It's better to have as many as you can in case you have trouble keeping something up. A status effect proccing can also help that, but the main thing on this is it's pretty easy build to run. All you want to do is you make sure you light attack an enemy once every 20 seconds to keep the Zen dot going, and you can see the up there on the just below where it says target skeleton, that's what the debuff looks like. If you keep an eye on that and just keep resetting it with a light attack, you should be able to keep your other dots up on them. You don't necessarily have to run these skills. These are just the ones I chose because I feel like they're the most helpful. And then I wanted to kind of slide this in as a way to maximize the group debuffs and buffs by having major vulnerability and major slayer along with the Zen and the Spalder of Ruin. I think it's a really strong addition to the group to be able to compartmentalize all this into one build. And then I run the other support DPS that I like to run is a War Machine, either MK or War Machine Powerful Assault. That way, Major Slayer is handled in your group. You don't have to run a Rojo healer. It's just so much nicer to run a different build than Rojo. Rojo is such a hectic build for healing. I'm trying to solve that problem of having a Rojo healer. It's just a lot easier to have healers focus on healing rather than running a Rojo healer and trying to proc that set every 22 seconds, which isn't even a healing set, it's a damage buffing set. So um, I feel like it's a lot easier and nicer, and it's a lot more user friendly, especially for people that are just starting out, to be able to run just a regular healer build. And then you can have the same buffs in group. I feel like with a much better uptime on this, you can just rotate the two War Machine people and tell people to stack on you when you're going to fire your ultimate. That's the key thing. You want to give this Major Slayer buff to your other full damage DPS because it only gives it to 5 other people. So if you've got 2 support DPS, you're going to have 6 full damage DPS. Tell them, all them guys, to stack on you, and you'll give everybody the full bonus that way. If you want to just go ham and both of your support DPS fire off War Machine at the same time, then everybody gets Major Slayer. You do it however you want, but at least you have an option of staggering if you want to. Um, Also, with the Colossus buff, you might want to look at trying to get that on your other War Machine wearer as well, just so that both your supports are providing that. Um, that's going to be a strong addition, I think, freeing up a lot of more set choices and build options to your rest of your group if you do that. Thanks for watching. I'll make some more videos when I can. Probably do a more detailed Zen uh, build, or excuse me, set highlight to cover everything about that build, or set. But thanks for watching. Check out my channel for the rest of my stuff. As I've said, go onto my channel, go down into my playlists. I have my content organized by subject, tank stuff, healer stuff, DPS stuff, support DPS, as I'm doing here. I also have PvP stuff, general knowledge stuff, all kinds of things. Check out my channel and see if I have anything else that might interest you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.